We're heading over. And we're actually broadcasting already on Google+. Now, I know that Christian can't actually hear us, but I'm hoping there's some questions for Christian in the future. So this is I think this is the second hangout we did. We did a second one, did the first one last night with Florian Grozer. So I'm just going to start the actual broadcast now.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, here we get going. All right, people. Hopefully you can see my screen. I'm going to have a few images going around. And welcome to the very first, second. It's the first one for a couple of the tipsters here. So it's the second webinar we've ever done. And let's get started. Welcome to the BetAdvisor podcast. Hello and welcome to the very second webinar that we're doing. Okay, this is actually being recorded as well, so we're going to do our best to keep it clean, keep the language nice and clean for everyone. If you are watching the webinar, then you will see that there are a couple of free tips rotating around on the screen. So it should be good for you. We're trying to make this as interactive as possible. There are different ways that you can get involved. If you haven't taken part before, you can put your hand up and you can ask a question. If you've got a microphone on your computer, then please let us know using the chat option, and we will get you on the line and asking your questions. Otherwise, just type it into the question box and we will read it out for you. We have Jason Mills. Jason, are you there?
Hello.
Hello, Jason. Yeah, we can hear you. And we also have Iker Leon. Iker, say hello.
Hi, good night, everyone.
Okay, so I'm reliably told that Iker is an actual professional at this. This is not his first time at the rodeo. So we have a professional with us tonight, and he's going to make it really good. Isn't that right, Iker?
Hope so. Now you're giving pressure to me.
Just a little bit, adding the pressure on. Okay, so we're going to do exactly the same as we did last time. We went through the tipsters and we said, can you give us a little bit of information about yourself and what it is that you do and you're trying to provide through your time here at BetAdvisor and through your service. And once again, we're going to go alphabetically. So Jason, that makes you second. So Iker Leon, I'm handing the floor over to you. So can you please tell us about yourself?
For me?
No, Iker.
Jason.
Iker Leon. Alphabetically. Now, I know you're good with numbers, but let's get it right with letters, okay?
I'm terrible with letters.
Okay, so Iker Leon, the stage is yours.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. So first of all, thank you, everyone, for joining, and welcome to this webinar. Really delighted and looking forward to it and have this chance of talking to all of you. So the first of all is, as probably you have already realized, English is not my native language. So don't be afraid of at any point if there's something that is not clear to raise your hand in the button that you have, so Stuart will realize and would probably try to hold my horses. Okay? So as a brief introduction, my name, as said, is Iker Leon. I've been with BetAdvisor for around 3-4 months. So I started, I think, in May, if I don't recall incorrectly. And my background basically has been more in finance. So I've been, as you can probably have read in the review that I have in the profile, more related to financial advisory and related also to risk. That I think is one of the key factors that has given me some edge and some advantage when trying to analyze sport betting as an investment. And this is what really would make that I'm very focused on numbers. So probably not as good as Jason, but I'm trying my best. So I'm focusing and specialized right now in football. I have to say that it's not and I have to admit, better said, that is not the first sport that I tried. So actually I started with tennis. And it was quite simple because I thought that, a sport that there are only 2 people involved and 2 possible results, either you win or you lose. So probably it's much better than soccer had. I have to admit that I didn't got that itch so quick, and I got more specialized in soccer. So I've been betting, let's say, for 4 years, but very intense. So the thing is, I came here to this marvelous work a bit by chance because I got, bored in holidays. I started to put some numbers on something that I think could be a good investment because I've been investing in real estate, in stocks, and I thought that sports could have a good chance to me, and it was quite interesting because I've played also football for a long time. So this would be a bit of background, so probably will be adding more, but I think it's a good start. So I will hand over to Stuart again.
Thank you very much. That was pretty good. You really are a professional at this. I think next week you can do this and I'll go on holiday. Okay, Jason Mills, can you tell us about yourself and tell us what you're trying to do with your service?
Right, okay. Let's just start right from the very beginning. Just love football, love numbers, combined the two together, and just fell in love with the whole aspect of betting. It's always been something that's fascinated me, the actual statistics of football. And I remember me and my friend when we were at school in the early days of computers, back in the Sinclair Spectrums and the Commodore 64s, early days.
Wow, we are going back a bit of time.
We were trying to find formulas to just looking at the tables then, because obviously the internet wasn't about then. So we were just looking at the basic stats that we had then, and we were modestly successful. I mean, and that's what sort of started it off, all those years ago, and various things got in the way, but then I sort of came back to it, and with the internet there's so much more data available, and I just love looking at football, looking at statistics, crunching numbers, and over the years I've just got better at picking out the key statistics, applying them, and then about 5 years ago I decided I would just specialise on the Premiership, because I found that the Premier League was really reliable. It was consistent, compared to the other leagues I was looking at, and I was just doing it for myself personally, and just going on forums, reading forum threads, reading forum chats, picking up little golden tips and nuggets here and along the way on various aspects of betting, and it was just on one of those forums that I got chatting with James Tucker, and he told me, another tipster on BetAdvisor. He told me about BetAdvisor and Tipster Academy, and just went through the process. And about 9 months ago, I qualified and started sort of posting tips up on BetAdvisor. So it's sort of this is the end of a long road, but it's been a long process, and still learning.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's slightly held you back is you came online. You had a few months, but when you came online, you kind of came online towards the end of the season, which is often the most difficult time to actually predict matches and stuff like that, because stats can go out of the window a little bit towards the end of the season. And then you had that long break, of course, because you don't cover the World Cup, and pre-season friendlies. I think we all know that pre-season friendlies are, it's not the easiest way of making money sometimes.
No, I tend to stick just to the Premiership. I do look at other things, and the stats that I use work reasonably well in them, but they're actually tuned for the Premiership. It's really difficult. I'm trying to be as honest and as open with people as I can, but I can't. I don't want to give away too much either, because it's been a long road. But the stats that I use, I know it sounds strange to people, but they are actually tuned for the Premiership, and we're going back 5 years of sort of hand collected data here. So it's not a flash in the pan. These are consistent profits made for each year that then carries on to the following year. But I think when I went through Tipster Academy, I just had a real good spell there, and I think I had like a 30% yield, which is incredibly good. It's way above sort of normal. Normal's about half that, and then towards the end of the season, that just averaged out for the season. So it was almost like a market correction, towards the end of that year. But I still make a good profit for each of the last 5 years, and hope to carry on doing that for clients for this season as well.
Markets do have a horrible way of correcting themselves, don't they?
Yeah, it was quite tricky, and the stats were really strange because I do monitor the results, and there was just no draws coming in whatsoever. Because I actually find that I don't know what it is. I think I've tried to sort of rationalise this, and I think people just like to have an outcome. They like to have a win, or for either side, and the draws just the odds on the draws are quite advantageous at times, but they just weren't coming in the end of last season. They did to start with, but at the end of the season they just didn't, and that just sort of threw me threw all the stats out the window. But we still made a nice profit for that year, and made a reasonable start to this one. So
yeah, I'd definitely say that. I mean, we've got your last 10 tips. Actually, one of the pages that's rotating at the moment. You've got a few ticks on there, so it's a good start.
Mm. Yeah, I'm just sort of expecting that to tick along as usual, and just try to be as honest and as open as I can with like I said, it's all sort of self-taught. It's reading forums and just reading through, and you read through pages and pages of people arguing and waffle, and then all of a sudden you'll come across this golden nugget, and you'll think, great, that's brilliant, that is, I'll put that aside, and that then helps you, and somewhere I've got a list of all these little things that I've written down, and I just sort of go back and look at them at times, and that just sort of reminds me, and keeps me on track.
Yeah. So you're basically Premiership only, aren't you?
Yes, yeah, pretty much. I mean, when we do these SBR videos, and you ask me to join in and that, I'll obviously really, really happy to help out and give an opinion. But I do tend to just specialise in the Premiership. I just find that the statistics that I've got are just tuned just for that league. And the brilliant thing about the Premier League is the liquidity. The actual amount of money you can get on the Premier League is phenomenal. You're not talking about sort of £50 here. You're talking thousands.
Yeah,
and that's perfect for staking. And as I also like to compound my bets that I do myself over time, and as the years go by, my stakes get bigger, and that it's easily absorbed. And any clients that follow should have no problem getting their money down too, as well, in sort of quite large amounts.
Yeah, I also look at the Premiership. Me and you have had a number of good chats about the games coming up. Often we disagree on things, as was shown in last week's video, where I think we didn't agree on anything at all. But I think you came out ahead in that one, didn't you, last week? I mean, I had 1 win out of 3, I think, and you got 2 out of 3, maybe.
Yeah, I was pleased with that. I mean, that was the Liverpool Tottenham match.
Less said about that, the better, I think.
Yeah. Well, you're a keen Spurs fan.
Yeah, we didn't give that away last week, but I can reveal that I am a keen and sometimes mad Spurs fan. I think you have to be a little bit mad to be a Spurs fan.
It really pained me to tip Liverpool and then to see them beat you.
I
was devastated. And that was quite good. So that one came in, and also the Villa Hull match. That was quite a good one for me as well. Villa sort of that was amazing, because I wrote down on the report that Hull had only scored against Villa with an own goal, and that's exactly what happened in that match as well. It was like history repeating itself. It was quite weird how that happened.
Yeah,
that was.
I had Hull down for a win in that one. It was just something that was telling me Hull are going to win this one, and I think it's time. Once again, you have to go back to the stats, and if there's the stats completely ruling it out, then you need to listen to the stats sometimes. What can I say?
Yeah, and then I think there was on that Sunday as well. It was looking good for Arsenal as well. Arsenal went ahead against Leicester. And,
that was the one I got right.
I predicted Arsenal to win that one. And Leicester got a really good, equaliser there. So and they well deserved the draw towards the end. So I was wrong on that one. But I'm not going to get it right all the time. But,
No, I think the idea is to get it right more often. Well, often enough to make a profit from the bookies.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so Iker, if I look at the Premiership and some Bundesliga and maybe some Serie A and Primera as well, what area do you look at mostly?
Well, the thing is, I have to say I admire quite a bit Jason, because I think Premiership is a very, very, very attractive market, but it's a very mature one. So it has good things, like you said, liquidity, and therefore the drops of the odds is not that high. But on the other side, being a very mature market means that the bookies obviously are quite picky on that, and normally it's more difficult to find a good edge. Definitely the best area would be draws, but still it's something that I was following Jason at the end of the season, because I was at that time not in Tipster Academy, but I was keeping an eye on it, and when he was promoted, I saw that. Well, I was amazed to see that kind of yield for quite a few number of months in that kind of league. So I was keeping an eye, and I saw something very interesting, that is a relevant percentage of them that were a draw, that I always think that had a lot of value. The same reason that Jason said, everybody is very interested and or had a lot of things to say about someone winning or someone losing. And when you come into a conversation about the draw possibility, then nobody's really keen to say, I see this as a draw. They can say that I see this guy winning, or maybe giving problems enough to make a draw, but definitely they're not seeing the match as a draw, as a value bet. And this is something that I think there's a lot of things to do there. With regards to the different leagues, in England I'm interested. The thing is that you see in my profile, normally I'm more looking for value in underdogs.
Yeah.
And this is Premiership is quite tough for underdogs. I've made more money actually when I've been focusing on favorites in Premiership than in underdog. And in fact, you can see the stats in my profile for the last month. I haven't placed anything in Premiership lately, and this is one of the reasons that really I want to ensure that I got the edge right before putting into the system. So that's for Premiership. Bundesliga is something relatively similar. It's something that also underdogs are not working that much, and also I make some money with favorites, and for similar reason, less liquidity, although it's still very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
I made some money in the second league, in Bundesliga Spy, the second Bundesliga. But the one that really amazed me, and I actually thought about you when I was listening to the previous BetAdvisor webinar. You were mentioning about the Primera División, the first division, that actually works strange in the stats.
Very strange. It's one of the most difficult, I think, to predict according to the stats.
Yeah, totally agree. The thing, and this is something that helped me quite a bit when I started with, because it's a league that I'm very interested in, and it was one of the first one that I was trying to make money on. And actually, something that gave me quite a bit of light was to remove completely from all the stats anything related to Real Madrid or Barcelona.
Yeah.
I just removed them from the whole list of stats. Not only the matches that the results that are affecting them, but also anything that could affect any other teams. And actually, I have to say that changed quite a bit the different numbers that I had. And from there, I start to make some more strike and finally got money there. But at the beginning, I have to say that there was a lot of huge noise from these teams. I also did something similar with Atletico de Madrid and Valencia, but the ones that really made noise was Real Madrid and Barcelona.
See, we should really have Paul Bradbury here, because you're talking about noise and signal and stuff like that, and that's, that's what he loves. He loves that kind of stuff. I'm sure he'll be listening in later. I know he can't be here tonight, but I'm sure he'll be rubbing his hands together. Yes, people talking about noise and signals. This is what I want.
Yeah. Actually, maybe I'm using exactly those words because they are in my mind because of the first webinar.
Yeah.
So he was mentioning that how they can, if you are introducing this, and it's the right way, in my opinion, to do the things, is that you have your model, but this should be feedback continually. You cannot try to get a basic model that obviously you have to put different information in, but you cannot try to find a model that is going to be working for 10 years with no adjustments, with no more information coming in. So this is, it's nice to think about that. It's to believe in Santa Claus, and also it's nice to believe in the system that you found.
Yeah.
I will work forever. Unfortunately, it's not like that. So you can find an edge in a moment in time. And actually, before I say that I started with tennis, I found a model at the beginning with tennis, and I put all the results retroactively 10 years.
Yeah.
And they were great. And for the first 6 months, I was in a yield about 37%, 40. I was amazed. I thought, wow, this is simpler than I thought. I thought, it would be much more difficult, that stock investment. And actually, I thought it's funnier, it's simpler. But then after 6 months, things went crazy. Because it's specifically tennis, and we can talk about that later, but it's a market that is changing a lot, and lately, in the last 2 years, it's getting crazy. Anyone can beat anyone.
Yeah.
But when I say anyone, I'm talking about someone from the out of the top 100 can be the top 10. This 5 years ago, impossible. So that's what I mean. Is like you have to have obviously a model of some kind of pattern to start, but you should try to think how you are going to incorporate this information. As Paul Bradbury said very rightly, from the moment that these new items that are changing your model are entering and giving information at the beginning, as he said, they are noise. When there are a lot of relevant number of those items, they are incorporating the system. They are not noise anymore. Actually, they are driving the model. And this is probably what is making a difference in some good tips, that they're able to analyze and realize very soon about this noise to minimize the impact on the losses. And they are also very good on interpreting this and incorporating this in the model so they can benefit as much as possible and as soon as possible for it. So I think reaction to the changes on the trends is very important, but also very difficult. And yeah, definitely Paul probably knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about stats and things, I mean, I know there are tipsters out there that have fully complete statistical models. Jason's one of those, I know. But you know, I'm pretty sure these statistical models, they have to adapt as they go on. Jason, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. No, I was nodding away with Iker. No, it's really astute. It's really. I think there's something that all consistently profitable tipsters are something they have to be aware of, and I don't know what other people call it. I call it evolutionary. You know, if you stuck with a system that worked 5 years ago, that's not necessarily going to work today. The markets evolve and things change, and what I try to do to try to cope with that is that my stats are based on a 5-year stats, but it's a rolling 5-year stats. So this year's stats will be added into, you know, then the next lot, and then I'll drop out, you know, 2010 stats will then drop out 2014, 15 will then take over, and that's what sort of keeps rolling me forward. And it's like the evolutionary markets of betting, and I think it's something, you know, you have to be aware of.
So with your rolling stats, how does that work with a team that's relegated and a team that's promoted? Does the promoted team take over the stats from the relegated team and you treat them as the same? Because I know there's a number of tipsters out there that do that. And also, if you look at a lot of statistical models, they will say that a relegated team is often pretty much has the same kind of record as a team that's promoted.
There's a couple of ways that you can deal with it. It also depends on what stats you're actually using. And again, I don't really want to go into vast details of what stats I actually use, but you can. There are ways that you can use previous matches, like in the previous league that they've come out of. You can then use that to add in. So one promoted team from one year won't be the same as a promoted team from another year. Each team I have has a rating, and then that rating then sort of follows on from the next year. If I haven't really explained that very well, but yeah, I can't think of a bit. My brain's frozen. I can't think of a better way of explaining that.
Putting you under too much pressure, that's the problem.
Yeah, but no, the basic point is that you know, the stats. I mean, give you an example. Somebody will say, well, how can a match between West Bromwich Albion and Leeds 5 years ago have any bearing on a match West Bromwich Albion and Leeds this year, because the teams are totally different?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you were just looking at that, then that's fine. But if you're looking at, say, the attack statistics of West Bromwich Albion then and the attack statistics now, then there are stats that apply to a match in the past you can then bring forward and apply to a match now, and that's basically how I work. I don't just go on, you know, what was then is the same as now. It's the statistics that applied then.
But are there any times you have to throw that completely out the window, say if a club completely changes their style?
It doesn't. That's not the stats that I use. I tend to use more of I rate a team on how well it's going to attack, how well it's going to defend, and certain teams attack. You know, have a manager that, you know, promotes a more attacking style. Some teams will have a manager that's happy to sort of sit back and rest on its laurels and sort of protect a 1-goal lead, you know, and they're the things that I'm looking at. And it does change, you know, managers change, statistics change, but I try to keep up with those stats, keep updating that stats all the time. and try to really see how these two teams, with their attacking and defensive styles and the ratings that I give for each, how they're going to sort of correlate with each other. Some just cancel each other out. Hence, you pick a draw. And that's basically how I work.
And the draw market's often underrated, so you get the chance to really take up the value that the rookies have left there. I mean, if you're just going for the draw market, then I often find there's, the odds are much higher than they should be, because clients don't like going for a draw. People who are betting, they don't like going for a draw. They want to see a winner one way or the other.
Definitely.
So you do see a lot of value in the draw market.
Yeah, I wish Florin was here to hear this, because I know Americans particularly, they, totally sort of random thing here, but I know Americans from speaking to them in the past, they can't understand cricket at all. They can't understand how you can play for 5 days and have a draw, and that just baffles them whatsoever. The Americans particularly like to have a victor, don't they? And the Americans also, they seem to sort of, British people tend to like underdogs, and we sort of shout for the underdogs to, pull off a fantastic victory. But Americans tend to like, look at the Tiger Woods, and have the support that he got. Still does get, because he was so good at what he did, So it'd be interesting to see what Florence says, whether he sort of takes that into consideration in his betting. But in Britain, I think, we still sort of similar in a way. We do like to see a win or a team lose or a team get trounced. It's the market for draw does tend to have a lot of value. It's not to say draw is the best bet every time, but that tends to be where you can make a decent profit.
To be fair, I'm English and I don't understand cricket either, so I wouldn't hold that against Americans. Yeah, I played cricket. I played cricket, and I think the best thing about cricket is playing. If you actually get on the at the wicket and you're batting, I love that side of things, but if you're one of the guys sitting on the side waiting to play, it can be a very long time. And if you've been bowled out on court, it gets even worse, because you're feeling sick inside, and you got to wait for the game to be over, really.
Yeah.
But I won't hold it against anybody if they didn't understand the game of cricket. It can be very, very confusing.
Yeah. That's like, I'm probably stand to be corrected, but in NFL or whatever, they have a specialist punter. They just have a bloke that just kicks the ball, and that's all he does all match. They'll wait an hour or so and just puff it up the field, and that's his job done. He's going to sit back down again, have a cup of tea.
Yeah, Tottenham striker Clive Allen was a specialist kicker for a very short amount of time. See, there's my NFL knowledge coming through. Of course, it's related to Tottenham. What can I say? Okay, seeing as we're outing people here, go on, Jason. Who do you support?
Norwich. Yeah.
Norwich.
Yeah. It's technically, I was born in a place called Woking in Surrey, and so really the closest team to me is Chelsea, and closest place to where I was born. My dad was a very keen Spurs fan. He's actually been to White Hart Lane, a lot more times than he actually went to Carrow Road. But I was 3 when we moved to Norwich, and it's just been something that I've, just sort of something that I've followed, shown an interest in, and the highs and the lows and that. But that's just that's who I support. Yeah.
No, there's no technically about it with me. It's I definitely support Tottenham. Iker, do you have a team?
Well, when I was young, I have to say that I was supporting Real Madrid, and I always had some kind of interest for Arsenal.
Oh no!
Don't ask me why.
I'm going to mute him now, everybody. He's going on mute. I'm sorry. We'll let you off. We're being professional here.
I should have something bad, so probably Arsenal is the thing. So I don't probably would be related to Henry, and I don't know. I really like the way he was playing it, but I have to say that lately, probably it's age. I'm not really supporting teams apart from national team. I really like to see good matches, but not focusing on one team. And actually, I think it probably is helping when I'm analyzing matches and I'm placing the bets, because I strongly believe in psychology, and I think it's a key factor. It's a key factor for the good and for the bad. And actually, related to draw, that he said, I met a guy that he was a relatively successful guy betting on handicap.
Okay.
And he normally was betting handicap for the underdog, meaning that actually he was looking like, plus 50, plus 25. And actually said, I mean, in my view, if you think that this guy or this team is having chances to get this handicap, I think you should bet for a draw. And actually, I made the exercise of get the record of the guy, and then I just put what would happen if he had bet just a straight draw.
Okay.
And the yield increased by 50%.
Ooh.
You know? I mean, obviously, probably the model or the way he works, I don't know how sustainable would it be, but it's really something you like. The guy was making the handicap because at the end, nobody or very few people want to go straight from the draw because, you know, psychologically, you always look for the win.
Yeah, that's very true.
And it's something that you don't really understand. That's why they are normally overrated. But I think there's a huge field there. And also the psychology is affecting and is impacting the way that you understand things. You made a very interesting comment about how to input the changes of people, teams getting promoted and relegated into the stats. And actually there are two items there for me. I don't see that straightforward because, I mean, the way you can be promoted or relegated is very different. So actually the ones that are relegated, they're relegated because they made it worse, definitely. But you can be relegated in very different circumstances. So either you can be losing all the matches away and be strong at home, but not enough. Or either you can be mixing it, or either you can be someone that is very aggressive but weak defensively. So actually there's a lot of goals. So all these things, I think they're making a huge role and can play a big role. So definitely something that, you know, you have to be, I think, extremely skilled to be able to migrate from different teams the things. And also because I think teams, regardless of the changes that they can have in the players, in the coach, there are some of them that really have characteristics. I don't know, probably you know Luis Aragonés. He was a very famous coach, and he was the coach of the national team, the one that won the first Euro Cup for us.
May have heard of him.
A bit, right? But this guy, he was called, the nickname that he had in Spain was the wise man of Hortaleza. That is a little area of Madrid. And the guy that was very, you know, a normal, very, very normal guy, a nice guy, he said, Real Madrid is in Spain the team that wins the most, always. Barcelona is the one that plays more beautiful, always. And Atletico Madrid is the one that plays better counter-attack. And actually, if you really check the performance of all these three teams, you can see they are really, really accurate. And if you check the players that have been in those teams over a year, different years, and the trainers that they had, they're completely different. A lot of changes. But for the last 40 years, Real Madrid has been the one that won the most. Barcelona has been that overall has played the better. And Atletico Madrid has been the one getting more results and playing better on the counter-attack. So there are some feelings within, I'm talking about football, of course. There are some feelings within some teams that they are very characteristics. And they are characteristics for the people going into that team and playing for them, and also the teams that are facing those teams in the way they prepare the match and how they understand it. And this psychology, I think, is something that also are influencing the results of the matches.
Yeah, I think a lot of successful bettors are looking at psychology as a way of making money. You know, and also you've got the sports and the stats. You know, they all coming into line now. So you've got psychology, you've got the sports analysis, and then you've got, you know, kind of your gut feel, which often tends to go against you. I'm currently reading a book called The Numbers Game, which is a big statistical book, and you know how to look at numbers in different ways. And they were saying that people, you know, in England, people feel great when they get a corner, but across the rest of Europe, a corner's just a corner. It's not really that important. You know, in Barcelona basically ignore corners. It's just a way for them to keep possession. And they were looking at the stats and saying, okay, so corners are supposed to lead to shots on goal, which is supposed to lead to goals. But they found that, yes, corners led to shots on goal, but they didn't actually lead to goals in any particular way. So I think people have a mindset of thinking that, yes, this is a rule and this is correct. But when you actually look at the real statistics, it's not right. You know, I mean, one of the things that really stood out for me was they were saying People always think that you're at your weakest just after you've scored a goal, and yeah, occasionally it comes up. A team will score, and then bang, there's another goal in straight away. We've seen that a lot of times, but those are the ones that stick in our mind. If you actually do the statistics and you look at everything, it happens such a small amount of time you wouldn't believe it. So
exactly, yeah.
It's actually better to bet against another team scoring if you can. Do your trades, and a team has just scored, right? Get some money on them, and wait for the market to go down a bit more before you do your trade. Certainly, if you're trading on Betfair, because a lot of people are going to be expecting, the other team to score. So there's going to be money going on adversely when it really shouldn't be.
Yeah, definitely. And something very important and interesting that really shocked me at the beginning was that there are a lot of people that are focusing on analyzing stats and get some kind of trends that work. And once they find that, they stop there. And I think actually the following step is the key one, is understand why they work.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give you one example that was very funny. It has nothing to do with betting, but has to do with models and risk models, and I think can really provide some background. So I was working for a very, very famous financial institution, and I was working in risk. And the thing is that there is a lot of different models that you work to try to understand when you are giving money away and you provide loans and cards, etc. You try to get the best customers, and also you are trying to avoid the people that are not going to repay. So there are a lot of models put in place to try to, at some point, understand from the provider perspective which people you should decline when they're asking for a loan, because overall they will give you losses. And the thing is that there was a moment that we were making some with some friends some different models, and then there was a moment that was very funny because we rated and measured was the probability of default based on the name of the person.
Oh dear.
Sounds stupid, right? Okay, we find out that there was one specific name in Spain that at that point was Antonio. They had 57% more probabilities of default than any other name. And the thing is, oh, that's great. So just put a cap in the system that anyone that is called Antonio, we cannot give a loan. Of course you cannot do that. But the thing is, there are a lot of people that if we are not talking something so ridiculous at the name, unless you are just talking, I don't know, there's a goals score or who is playing home or whatever, they found something that seems to work, they don't really try to understand why this is happening, what is behind these numbers.
Yeah, very important.
They say, hey, it's working great. Of course, if this stats is telling you that what works is, that the name of the team is start by a vowel or a consonant, for example. Imagine the teams that are playing home and they start by a consonant, they have, I don't know, 30% more probability of winning. And it seems to work. Obviously, you wouldn't feel comfortable betting your money on that, right? However, if this is related to, I don't know, goals score combined with home performance, blah, blah, then you feel comfortable and then you don't think about why it's working. And this is, I think, one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people are making, and probably why we don't have more successful tipsters out there.
Yeah, a lot of people get fooled by numbers. They look for what they think is correct. They look for the proof of what they already believe. I actually made a mistake last week, I believe, but this week I've looked it up and I've made sure I've got my facts correct. Albert Einstein, we're going back to him again. He said, "Not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts." So you do have to look at what is important when you're actually doing your analysis.
Love that quote. I will keep it for me as well.
I'm going to put together a whole spreadsheet full of useful quotes. I think that one might be going on Twitter, I have to say.
Yeah. Oh, he's classic Albert Einstein, yeah.
Very smart man. Although that's really
very.
It's a bit stupid to say a very smart man because, obviously.
I still think you ought to have that picture on your T-shirt when you do SBR videos. Same as Einstein photo. That's a classic. That'd be brilliant.
I think I'd probably go for the Winston Churchill one, but hey. I've got this idea in my mind of creating a Winston Churchill T-shirt that says, "Madam, I may be drunk, but you are ugly, and I shall be sober in the morning."
he was one of the best providing quotes. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. If you can get a book of his quotes, absolutely superb. There are some absolutely fantastic quotes out there, and just go through them, and a lot of them can actually put towards betting. So it can be quite useful in that respect. Learn from your betters, I've always said.
Betters, yeah, I like that. In both aspects.
In both aspects, exactly.
In both aspects, I like it. Yeah.
No, I mean,
go
for it.
It's amazing how much you can find out on on forums. Just reading over the time. I've learned a lot just reading and sort of trying to sort of fathom out why people say such things. And hold on, does that make any sense? No, well it might do, but no, hold on a minute, that's rubbish, really. And you sort of go through things, but you pick up some real nice tips and.
There's a lot of very smart people out there, and there's also a lot of people out there who really don't know what they're talking about, or they're stuck on something that makes no difference whatsoever. And it's about picking and choosing what you're going to take from someone and what you're going to use. I think it's almost the essence of betting. You take if you're going to go by statistics, you take the statistics that are useful to you, and the ones that you feel are important. And if you get it right more often than you get it wrong, then you make profit. Otherwise, you probably need to reevaluate somewhere along the line. Otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah, there's a lot of red herrings out there. We're now sort of in a world of where there's so many statistics. I mean, and that's reminded me that if you go into a bookies for horse racing, you can find out the colour of the socks that the stable boy's wearing, and it's absolutely phenomenal, the details that the bookies give you, and they do that for a reason, because that can then blind you with so much information that you then can't find the golden ones that are actually displayed there. They've sort of covered everything so well. You just have to be really focused and like you say, find the statistics that are actually key.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just horse racing. You get blinded by statistics in pretty much any sport nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are very useful, like tennis, like the number of double faults that the players had in the last 15 matches or things like that. That can be quite useful because it, shows you almost the mental state of the player. And then you've got football, it's how many times this player has turned over possession to someone else. And I mean, the number of times that a ball gets turned over in football, something like 400 times a game, the ball changes hands. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, how many sports do you have where there's 400 different phases of play almost?
Yeah, it's amazing, the stats. I mean, they can tell you the yardage that a player has run, over the duration of the game. You know, and you can. I'll tell you what, I'd love to know how many yards that what's his name? Oh, in the '66 World Cup. If you ever watched that final, the one England. Yeah, what's his name? He ran his socks off, didn't he? All match, and it would have been phenomenal to see.
Are we talking England or Germany?
England.
Bobby Styles?
What's his name? No, the young one. He just passed away recently. He was young at the time.
Jeff?
No.
Got the hat trick?
No, Ginger. I think it was ginger hair.
Alan Ball.
That's him.
He didn't exactly pass away recently. It's been a little bit of time.
Wow, it seems recent to me, but
yeah. Definitely a character within the sport.
Oh, he ran miles that day, didn't he? He was all over the pitch. Yeah.
I'm sure Opta have the stats for it somewhere. I'm sure they've taken that game apart and looked at it.
But this is interesting because, for example, specifically in that stats, one of the people or the guy that was signing the most was Beckham. Beckham, if you ask everyone, most of the people will be talking about how he was shooting the falls or how he was giving long pass. But actually, the one stat that he was actually the king on, it was the match that he was running in a match.
Oh yeah, and that continued well into his career. He carried on playing. He was one of the furthest runners in a match, even a couple of months before he ended when he was playing at PSG. He was one of the most active players on the pitch.
Yeah, but again, psychology, people will be focusing on the lighting things, that is when he scored a fault or something like that.
A goal from the halfway line, and
free kick against Greece.
That's free kick against Greece. Yes, I remember it well.
That one.
That's one. I think everyone remembers that one. I think there are a few things about Beckham's career that stick out in your mind. There's that goal from the halfway line, that free kick against Greece, probably the sarong. I'm sure most people remember the sarong.
Oh,
and then there was the cut above the eye with Alex Ferguson when he kicked the boot at him. Or not even at him. I don't think he was even angry at him. I think he was angry at Yapstam or someone like that, and he just kicked a football boot and it hit him above the head, and massive furor.
Oh yeah.
But hey, these are the things that people get waylaid by, and we get waylaid by it as well. So just a bit of fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So one of the things that we've had a lot of conversation about recently amongst clients and amongst tipsters is staking plans. Okay, so let's go your personal staking plans with your personal betting. How do you do it? If we're going to go reverse alphabetical this time, so we're going to go with Jason Mills first.
Right. Okay.
Put you on the spot here.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Okay. How complicated do you want me to make this? Because
well, I think we have a pretty clued in listenership, and our clients. Whenever I've talked to our clients, they've always come across as being very intelligent and very capable. So I don't think you're going to be in any danger if you make it not complicated, but technical.
It's just my poor description of how I describe things. I know what I mean, but I just can't get my words out to explain.
Well, do your best, and I'm sure people pick up on what you want to say.
Jason, just remember, Jason, what Einstein said, that if you cannot explain it simply, you don't know it well enough.
Now that's going on my list.
I use Excel for all this, so I don't have to. I just write the code, and that does it for me. So, yeah, no, it's what I do is it's basically I use I think one of Einstein's comments was about compound as well, wasn't it? He was asked what was man's greatest invention, and he said compound interest.
Turns out that's a complete lie. It wasn't him at all.
Wasn't it?
No,
Snopes
told me that he never said that.
Oh, right. Okay.
I actually looked this up after last week's webinar.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I thought it was. I've been misled. But anyway, no, it was. That's basically what I try to do. I do a flat stake system where I put the same amount on for each bet, but I also compound it. So I do a percentage of a bank. So if I've got a bank of £100 and I have 2% on each, that's then 2%, and when that bank's then higher, that's then 2% of that bank, and that over time, that compounding of that percentage makes a huge difference. So I just have a bank, and at the end of each day, I don't do it after each match because that's impossible, but at the end of each day, I will then that bank will then be higher, and then I do a percentage of that amount as a flat stake over all the bets that I do.
So you compound on a daily basis?
Yeah, after each set of matches, because basically on football you've basically got the Saturday and the Sunday, haven't you? That's where most of the matches fall on. So at the end of Saturday, if my bank is £1,000, then 2% of that I'll put blah blah on, and then at the Sunday, that might be 1,010, so that's then 2% of that. But that 2% isn't a figure that's plucked out of the air. I've got some formulas that tell me on the strike rate that I hit how long a losing run is likely to be, how long a losing patch is likely to be, so I take that into consideration. So that 2% isn't a figure that's plucked out of the air. That is a safe, I know for my system, tuned just for me, that is a 2% is safe for my system. Others might be better with a 3%, some might be better safer with a 1%, but or degrees in between. But it's tuned just for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I like to compound. Personally, I compound on a weekly basis because my betting period normally goes from Friday to Monday, but I do my compounding on a Sunday. So at the end of Sunday, it compounds to start on the Monday. So it goes from there.
That's it.
Same to me. Yeah.
Yeah, you work on the Monday to Sunday principle as well.
Yeah, as well, because also I'm covering different leagues, so actually I'm playing matches during the week. I normally do it. I was making some numbers always between 1 week or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so far I'm doing with 1 week. Also, it depends as well of the number of matches, because there are some busy times like October, November, etc.
Yeah.
And there are some times that are not as busy. So I also take into consideration that. But definitely. I mean, almost daily, like Jason does. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not doing that. I'm not able to adjust that much.
Okay. No, I think daily would be a bit too much work for me. I mean, I've tried it in the past. I've had my spreadsheet set up to give me, my daily stakes for each day, and certainly when I was doing horse racing and I had like 7 tips a day, 7 selections a day from my system, then that was almost a daily basis. But that was to protect myself just in case of any losing runs.
Yeah.
And I think we've all had losing runs here. I mean, everybody has,
yeah, tell me about it. Yeah.
Yeah, more than anyone recently, certainly. I mean, I went through my losing run during the World Cup, and I was lucky to say lucky. I keep using words like lucky when I really shouldn't. I managed to get past that and make some profit. And Jason's had his losing run, and you've had yours recently as well. So we all have a losing run, a period of bad variance in professional termage.
This is where it is. And actually, this is why it's key, as you raise the staking plan and understanding the staking plan. And actually, I have to say that and probably we'll have more internal conversation about that. I'm reviewing the staking plan that I normally use. Just because I'm in the service now, so for me it's gonna keep working like that. But being in a subscription service, I think is you have to think 2, 3, and 4 times about that.
Yeah.
And one of the points is that I normally use flat stake. But in my case, I use flat stake also for a specific reason that could be different depending on how your style of betting and how are your results. So I will try to explain myself again without complicating that much. So the thing is, imagine, to make it simple, that your range of odds, imagine that is below 2 and above 2, okay? So let's say that you say, okay, for below 2, I will be making 2%, and above 2, I will be making 1%. Okay?
Yeah.
Make it simple. So the thing is that this is great or not, depending on where are the results that you have in the individual bucket. For example, if the results in 1 year time of the ones below 2 are a yield of 15%, and in 1 year time the ones above 2 are also 15%, actually reducing your stock, you're reducing your profit. So the thing is, depending on how the yield is and how the strike rate is, when you have to start thinking about it. Because, for example, obviously the ones that are below 2, the strike rate would be higher. Although the yield could end up being the same, but the strike would be higher, just mathematically. So that means that at the end of the year, taking the ones that are above 2, they are going to give you this yield. But as we said before, there's a lot of ways that it can happen. It could be that if you are going to have, let's say, a strike of 40% and you have 100 bets, you have 40 wins, 60 losses. You can have the 40 wins at the beginning, 60 losses at the end. You can have them all mixed through the way. That is a great thing. Or you can have them just at the end. And if you are having them at the end, then the stake that you are putting on them all together in a horrible bad run, they could add up so much that actually you lose your bankroll.
Yeah, can
and
happen.
Even you look at it, if you are not making compound, as Jason said, that is very important. This is one of the reasons you should use, and this is my recommendation, use the compound system, because otherwise if you just use flat stake, not compound, then the bad runs could drive you very quickly to lose your bankroll. Okay. So in my case, the result that I have in the different buckets of odds are pretty similar. So that's why I use a flat stake. What I'm reviewing now with the subscription service is whether I'm using the 4%, the 80 units, and I'm reviewing whether this should be different. But there are other items and other factors like the total profit and different things that I need to review, and I would like also to discuss with BetAdvisor or potentially with other tipsters that I think is always very interesting to.
Yeah, and with your clients, we can get your clients in on the conversation as well. So.
Definitely. So, but this is the reason why I'm using the flat stake at this point, is because the different results in the different buckets are giving me that. And so far, analyzing the different bad runs, they never put really in a huge danger on the bankroll, but as I said, and I'm reviewing that.
Okay, Jason, how does that sound to you in terms of the? Because I know you're not a fan of compounding down, are you?
This is
a big draw of breath. There's a big drawing of breath there. Go on, you can be controversial.
Well, we've had this discussion, and I can't convince you on it, and it's just really difficult to explain. Personally, I don't compound down. No, my bank stays the same, and as it drops, I keep my level of stakes the same. I know people, if they're going through a bad run, they will drop their stakes, and but I don't. I keep mine at the same. The reason why I don't do that is because I'm confident in my system. I've worked out the losing runs in the actual amount that I stake initially, which is why I went on to say previously that I know how long an expected losing run is. I know how long a series of losing runs together could be, which I call a losing patch, and I've taken the worst case scenario, so I then stake an amount that I know is safe. So when I go through a losing run, I don't drop my stake down, because what happens then is if you drop your stake, when your variance changes to a positive variance, you are then staking lower, and then it takes you longer to recover, so you're not taking advantage of your positive variance. That's the best way I can explain it, really. I've calculated the risk, and my stake stays the same because I know that over time that will even out, and so I haven't lost any of the advantage by staking lower than I have done on previous bets.
Yeah, that's fair. I can understand the logic behind that, but again, it comes down to emotion. I think it's a little bit too scary for me. That's why I like to I like to compound down when I need to. If I'm going through a losing run, I mean, I have my system, compounds every single week. But if for any reason I go through a particularly bad run and it loses 20% of the bank, then it compounds down at that point as well. So it's like got a safety measure, like a steam pressure switch. It cuts in and says, "Whoa, hang on a second, we're gonna drop it now." So I can't ever lose too much money.
Mm.
It sounds like Jason has a very strong and healthy heart.
And a healthy bankroll as well, I think.
This is really good. But one question, Jason, how do you articulate that? Because the thing is that, it's clear how you compound up. So you have a bankroll of 100, has some profits, 10, 110, to apply them. But then when you lose, what do? You keep with the 110, or do you start from the beginning with 100?
If my stake at the time of the losing run is, let's say it's £10 a bet, and that is a percentage of the bank, then that £10 stays the same throughout no matter what. But this is the point, this is the major point of the system that I use. That initial stake I know is safe because I've done the calculations that stake is safe given the strike rate of my system over time. So there is a formula that will tell you, given the amount of bets that you put on, your strike rate that you've got, what your losing run is likely to be. And based on that, you can then calculate what a safe stake would be, so that although you'll go through a losing run, you might drop down to even losing 50% of your bank, but you will then recover, and you will recover more quickly than if you lower your stake. So over time, two systems side by side, there might only be 1% difference or 2% difference at the end of it all, but I haven't reduced my stake, so when the recovery comes, I haven't lost that recovery, because it will take more bets to recover if you've dropped your stake.
I think part of the reason for dropping the bank as it goes is to make sure I never really have to kind of recover that much. Obviously there are going to be some losses, but the bank goes up as well as it does well. So yeah.
But the thing is, your initial stake might have been a little higher than mine to start with.
Possibly. I'm quite well known for being conservative in my stake, so so probably not.
But I came across this on a forum, and it was a professional betting forum, and I had my doubts as well. But the longer I looked at it, the more I then back tested it and tried it. And it does work better on higher strike rate systems, no doubt about that. On some horse racing services, with a 20% strike rate, I wouldn't recommend it. But my system's round about 50, a little bit lower, 47, 48%. It's a good system for me. And as I said, I can't reiterate it enough. It's tuned for what I do, just specifically for my system.
Iker, any comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has a lot to do also with the average odds that Jason had and the strike rate, therefore.
Yeah, because
Because
his average odds are quite a bit higher than yours. Yours are, in terms of football betting, your odds are quite long odds, aren't they?
Yeah, that's why in my case, the formula would be a bit more complicated, I think. And
Yeah.
Jason, I challenge you. I would love that you find it for that kind of. But yeah, this is one of the items that when you are playing on higher odds, and it's introducing one of the interesting concepts that is the value. So the thing is, I mean, value could be everywhere, but for me, and this is due to psychology of the market, for me it's easier, or has been always easier to find it in longer odds. Because at the end, the someone or how the market moves from 3 to 320 is quite easy. And you are moving 20 basis points.
Mm.
And there's some matches that, I mean, for example, in the last ones, unfortunately, my customer hasn't been able to see it. But in odds, it's very few, like 5% of total. But 5% of the bets, maybe they are odds around 6, 7.
Yeah.
And
that is
those
high,
of them,
though. That is very high
yeah,
for football.
Yeah, it's very, very high. And that's why the average yield is 5%. But in those one actually have a better yield over the years than in the lower ones. Because, I mean, there are a lot of people that probably, they see 6 and they say, yeah, this is an underdog, it would work. And they move to 7 and people still don't put the money there. And then bookies, they need to compensate and they put, okay, 8. And actually, still the real probability obviously is very low.
Yeah.
But from the accurate that maybe is 5.5 to 8, the value is huge. But obviously, it's a very dangerous place. I understand that. That's why you have to be very careful. But it's just, overall a high-level summary of why I think the value is easier to find in high odds, also mathematically, because changing probability, when you have a probability of something happening 20%, and then you move it to 23%, the change is not very high, but the change in the odds really are high. So if you get the good one, you're having a huge impact on your overall yield. However, I have to say, and this is my recommendation, stay away from very high odds as a general rule. So the value in general normally would be, in my eyes, would be above between 2 and 3.5 would be the ones that are safer.
Yeah, I can definitely. I mean, I will occasionally go out for a longer odds bet, but I think my longer odds bet is 3.2, something like that. It's nowhere near as long odds as you would go.
Yeah, I think my biggest winning bet last year was about 4.5, something like that. 4. Yeah, I think it was about that. Yeah, 4.5 to 1, sort of 5.5 decimal. Yeah, so I don't tend to go with the rank outsiders, but
I think my biggest win last year was about 21. So
wow,
it was a huge one. And I got a couple of pretty good ones during the World Cup as well, but nothing like that. I got a correct score right in the Bundesliga last year, and I was pretty happy with that one. But that one will keep you going for a little while.
Mm.
Okay, next time use it for a free tip, Stuart.
It was given away on the videos. It was given away on the videos, so everybody could have followed it. So, talking about videos, we have actually done some videos this week. Jason did manage to get his views over to us, and Iker, you provided something for us as well, didn't you?
Yeah, for the Group H in Champions League.
Yeah, I actually put that on the blog today. It's gone up as a blog article because I thought it was so good. It shouldn't just be given away on the video. It should be made into its own article. So if you check out the blog today, blog.betadvisor.com, you will find that there's that article and a few others. Jason, you've got a couple on there, haven't you?
Yeah, I've written a couple, yeah.
Yeah. So we've got that. Then if you want to head over to YouTube and type in BetAdvisor TV1, that's the number 1 at the end, so BetAdvisor TV1, type that into the YouTube search bar, and you'll find all the videos that we've done. So you can see all the ones that are coming up this week, and there's some couple of previews there for Champions League games and a couple of international matches as well. So I'm not sure we want to get on to international talk, do we? Because we've got 2 Englishmen and a Spaniard here, and none of us are doing particularly well. England bottom of their group, Spain bottom of their group, if I'm correct, was it?
I don't really recall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't
I'm
talk
still,
about the
I'm
World Cup.
really, that was crazy, huh?
World Cup,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Actually, when you were thinking and you were stating about would you suffer withdraw at the end of the league in Premiership, I had that exactly in World Cup.
Yeah,
I
I
had
bet.
just exactly that. It has been in the last 60 years the one that has got the variance, the biggest variance against all the tracking record for draw. Absolutely mad, absolutely mad, absolutely mad. All the models that I run, and Stuart know about that because we're discussing this before.
Yeah.
Actually, I tried. They were running around 20% yield consistently. It was crazy. It was crazy. So I had to make some adjustments to save a bit the furniture, like we say in Spain, and they work a bit. And at the end, I mean, the final was good one because I spot on in two from the same one. But at the beginning, really, I was very mad because I went like crazy, spending hours checking whether I made a mistake in the model. And actually, from the perspective, the technical perspective, there was none. But I spent hours like trying to understand. I cannot get that far away from the forecasted result.
Yeah.
Crazy, really. Yeah.
Definitely crazy. Right. I think it's time we call an end to this. So hopefully next time we talk, everyone's national team will be doing a lot better. And I think at some point we're going to need to have a conversation with Iker Leon, Jason Mills, and Paul Bradbury, and it will be heavily statistically based, I'm sure. So we'll get that one on the books for another day. Last thing, we're going to give away a coupon again. We're actually going to use the same coupon code. So the coupon code, if you want to get a little bit of money off, is Webinar1. Okay, so please go ahead, look up the tipsters. Check out the tipsters we're talking to tonight. See how their results are doing. See if you like the way that they work. And we look forward to speaking to you soon. We didn't get any questions tonight, so in the future we want a lot more questions from people. Thank you everybody for coming, and good night.
Good night.
Good night, all.